Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyamudiret Nastabhayasya Bhatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhakti Naistike. This morning we are reading from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10, entitled Battle Between the Demigods and Vritrasura. And today we will discuss text 5 and 6. Text 6 is on the board, text 5 has no purport, so I will first read that. Chideva uchu kinnu tattuschayam ramam pumsam bhutanukam pinam bhavatvidanam mahatam punyasloke jakamanam. The demigods replied, O exalted Brahman, pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies. Text 6. We repeat, it's on the board. No nam svarta paro loko. Nam svarta paro loko. No veda para sankatam. No veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana cha cheta. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nonam svarta paro loko. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nonam svarta paro loko. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Mataji, please. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Nitinaha yad ishvara. Nonam svarta paro loko. Na veda para sankatam. Yadi vedana ya cheta. Netinaya Vishvaraha Nunam certainly Svaartha interested only in sense gratification in this life or the next. Loka, materialistic people in general. Na, not. Veda, no. Parasankatam, the pain of others. Yadi, if. Veda, no. Na, not. Yacheta, would ask. Na, no. Iti, thus. Na'aha, does not say. Yat, since. Ishvaraha, able to give charity. Translation and purport by Abhayacharanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. Purport. This verse describes two people, one who gives charity and one who begs for it. A beggar should not ask charity from a person who is in difficulty. Similarly, one who is able to give charity should not deny a beggar. These are the moral instructions of Shastra. Sanakya Pandit says, Sanimiti varam tyago vinashenyate sati. Everything within this material world will be destroyed, and therefore one should use everything for good purposes. If one is advanced in knowledge, we must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in a dangerous position under the spell of godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their life for the great cause of reviving God consciousness of human society. Read the verse once again. Namam svarta paro lauka na veda parasankatam yadi vedanaya sitan Nitina Yadishvara. Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. Om Ayana Timandasya Chananchana Sanakya Shakshuranitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhuttam Swayam Rupakalamayam Dadati Svapalantikam Vandeham Shivu Shriyoda Padagam Shiyom Vaishnavamsa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaraganatam Patam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabdutam Bhajana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalita Shikshakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Bandhu Jyotpate Gopesha Gopkakanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanasve Vishavana Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriya Frankra Kaltra Vishakri Prasan Vevishan Patnam Pavangyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishvadaya Krishna Vishnu Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasarani Nirvasita Srinivadi Paspajai Tisatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So usually when the demigods are in difficulty, they call upon Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu appears and supports and solves their problem. So we have Indra this problem of Vitrasur, and after his appeal to the Supreme Lord to appear, the Lord appears, but this time he's saying, I will not intervene. You have to do, Indra. But I will give you some suggestions how to solve the problem. You should approach Daditsi and ask for his bones, because his bones have become very strong due to his chanting the Narayan Kavacha. That and with his bones, then the thunderbolt will be made. And with this thunderbolt, he will be able to kill Vitrasura. That interesting is that, like, Daditsi is like the enemy of Indra, because he tried to kill him before, because he was giving this knowledge of Brahma Vidya to the Ashwini Kumaras. And yes, but yeah, it didn't work, because Ashwini Kumaras, they said, yes, okay, yeah, Indra will kill you, but don't worry. They were expert doctors, so they replaced his head by the head of a horse, and then he spoke Brahma Vidya to the Ashwini Kumaras, and then Indra cut off the head of Daditsi, and then Ashwini Kumaras put back his original head. So it didn't work, but he was envious, Indra. Instead of asking Daditsi to give him also Brahma Vidya, so that he could attain liberation, but no. He was thinking, yes, if he gives it to the Ashwini Kumaras, they will get liberation, a higher position than I have. So he became envious. And now the Lord said, yes, you can solve the problem, but you have to beg from Daditsi now for his bones. So and the demigods, it seems it is the demigods are approaching Daditsi. It doesn't seem to be that Indra went personally, but they went and asked him and begged him for his bones, and then Daditsi was jokingly replied, don't you know that how much pain it is how much pain you have, and you have to give up your body. That everyone in this world is struggling to protect the body. First protect the body, and then after that protect your religious principles and so on. But here the demigods replied to him, yes, so trying to convince him with moral instructions, and that's the verse of today, that yes, you should give us your bones because we are beggars and we are in difficulty. And it's good to give for a good cause. Srila Prabhupada, in a purport, he turns it immediately to, yes, everyone should join the Krishna conscious movement, become preachers, and gives their life for the preaching of Krishna consciousness. And that's the best use of the body. Use it for a good cause. That's the best cause Srila Prabhupada writes. He brings it immediately to the highest use of this body, mind, and words. But within this verse, there is an important principle. Because Indra is envious. Envy is the cause of our being in this material world. Envy of Krishna. And that envy of Krishna manifests in I and mine. That I'm the enjoyer, and this is for my enjoyment. And let it become mine. Take away from whatever. But of course, in Shisa Upanishad, in the second verse there, it's explained that yes, we have a right to enjoy, but we have our quota, because we are also part and parcel of Krishna, but are very small, so we have a very small quota. Just you can get in this world what you need. But everything beyond that is pure selfish. And to develop Krishna consciousness, we must give up that selfishness. So, therefore, Bhagavad Gita explains that it begins with explaining Varnashram. Karmani vadakaste mafleshna kachana. You should do your work out of duty, not of out and mind, not out of I and mine. I'm the enjoyer and this is mine. No, without motive, just out of duty. So everyone is in the Varnashram system is encouraged to do one's duty. But the Varnashram system as a whole, what's the purpose? Haritoshna, pleasing the Supreme Lord. That's the purpose of Varnashram. So everyone cooperates to please the Lord. But this principle of charity, that's a very important one, especially for householders. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, I'm just married. What's my duty as a householder? Who do I see the relationship with my wife? Srila Prabhupada replied, you ask your wife to cook. And when she has cooked, you do the offering for the deities. And after that, you go outside and call out 3 times, everyone who is hungry, please come and eat. Then you serve all the hungry, and afterwards you can eat. But the devotee was not satisfied. He said, Prabhupada, please explain me. I'm married. What's the relationship with my wife? Oh. And Srila Prabhupada said, you ask your wife to cook. You offer it to the deities. And when the offering is ready, you go outside and call 3 times. Prasad is ready. Everyone who wants to come, please come. You serve the guests. And then you can eat. And then the devotee was not satisfied. But what with the relationship with my wife, he said. Prabhupada repeated it a 3rd time. So that means charity is very important, especially for the householders. They maintain all the other ashrams. And by giving, not living for themselves, living for others, they learn to give up that selfish tendency. This charity, in that sense, is very important. It's in Bhagavad Gita, charity, penance, austerity should never give up, if the sages have said. Lord Krishna says that. So that is an important aspect, that man and wife cooperate to support each other's in spiritual life. That's the basis of the relationship. But also to not only to support each other, but also others. So that is important. In Srila Prabhupada says right here, the entire world is in a dangerous position. I think that's very true today. If you read the news on the internet, it's not good. It's in very dangerous position. And what it is all about, these sports and so on, it's I and mine. And because they say, this is my country, this is my people, and the other party says, no, it's ours, they fight. They fight, and it doesn't belong to them, it belongs to Krishna. So that's based on these selfish desires. And these selfish desires we must give up. When in India, our temples outside, you see many times beggars, and Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj went with his disciples to visit different temples, but he saw his householder disciples did not give charity to the beggars, and he said, you should give charity. That's an important principle. Of course, there is also another principle here, that a devotee feels unhappy when he sees that others are unhappy. And the same principle is there. Thus, if one understands the difficulties of the beggar, then one, with that understanding, one will more easily give. So that's also the principle for spreading Krishna consciousness. Everyone is suffering. Is in a cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And under the spell of the illusory energy, they have false ego. And because of that false ego, they identify with the body and they are suffering so much. And so it's the devotee, he develops this compassion, this feeling of compassion, and mercy. That feeling of compassion is important. Of course, you have different kinds of compassion. You have self-compassion, and you have compassion with others. So you have also to be compassionate with yourself. Means, yes, be serious in Krishna consciousness. Then we are show compassion with ourselves, but also compassion with others. And that is a very important principle in Krishna consciousness. And that's the point that Lord Krishna makes in Bhagavad Gita. He says, yes, man mana bhagavad bhakto machi mam namaskara. Come, think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer me respect, sarvadam prachya mamikam sampancham tvam sarvapavya mukshisya mahatstva. Surrender to me, follow my instructions. But then it's not finished. He's saying that one who studied this holy dialogue between me and Arjuna, he studies, he worships me with his intelligence, and one who explains this secret of devotional service to my devotees, and then to the innocent, yes, is very dear to me. And no one will be ever more dear. So that's the purpose. We come to this movement that first we start to practice, and then we surrender to Krishna, follow his instructions as the beginning of self-compassion, and then compassion to others. We must go to all the stages. It's not that we finish with Sarvadam Prachya, Mamikam but just surrender. No, then we have to serve Krishna and give this knowledge to others. And that is a spiritual principle. Spiritual laws are different than material laws. Material laws, you have something and you give it to others, then you get rid of it. So that's, 1 minus 1 is 0. But spiritual laws are different. If you give Krishna consciousness to others, Krishna gives it to your heart. The Dhami Buddhi Yoga. If you give it to others, you get it. It's a wonder. That's how Krishna does. Therefore, that is the basis for advancement in devotional service. And Sutta Goswami says, Susru Sosha Dadansya Vasadev Gadavachit Yanmat Sevyavi Prapunya Tirthan Shevana. You can develop taste for Krishna consciousness, for hearing about Krishna, by Susru Sosha Dadansya, by hearing with great attention, and by serving the Mahatma. By serving, how do we serve the Mahatma? By following his instructions, engaging in his mission, engaging in the mission of Srila Prabhupada, engaging in the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And that combination gives taste. Yes. And if Krishna sees that, Shimvatasvakadai Krishna Punyashyavni Kirtana Vidyam Tato Yabatani, if we do not search them, then from within the heart he cleanses everything unwanted, all our anarthas are going. So these two principles are there, hearing sufficiently and serving the spiritual master, his mission, by this greatest charity of giving Krishna consciousness to others. Therefore, This is a very basic principle explained here, and Srila Prabhupada translates it immediately in the purport, in the spreading of Krishna consciousness, because that's the compassion, reviving our original consciousness. This material consciousness is not natural for the spirit soul, and it does not give satisfaction, only trouble. But when we get rid of all these attachments, then by becoming attached to Krishna, then our suffering diminishes. It is said in the Bhagavatam, I think, 177, when you give oral reception to this Bhagavatam, which is injected to the ears by oral reception, one gets rid of everything what is superfluous for the spirit soul. And that is one gives up lamentation, illusion, and fear. Lamentation, illusion, and fear. That I learned 25 years ago from Mahavishnu Goswami, the old Gujarati Swami. And he told me, you should do SSI, and you will get rid of LIF. SSI, service, submission, and inquiry to the spiritual master. If we do that, then you get rid of lamentation, illusion, and fear. And I never forgot that. Do SSI and get rid of LIF. So that is an important principle, that because sometimes devotees, they are practicing for many years, but then they don't feel really satisfied with their advancement. But what's wrong? You have to look at two things. Are they hearing sufficiently? And then are they engaging in spreading Krishna consciousness? Many times, one of both are missing, and that's problematic. So if we are really compassionate, we give this charity of giving Krishna consciousness to others. And when one does that, it's very satisfactory to the heart. It is a great blessing to be engaged in Srila Prabhupada's mission. And maybe sometimes demanding, sometimes Krishna brings you to the border of what you could do. But it's a great experience because it gives happiness to the heart. If you see others advancing in Krishna consciousness, that's the greatest satisfaction of a Vaishnava. And someone asked Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? And some are thinking Srila Prabhupada would say, distribute my books, or whatever. But no, he said, what pleases me the most is that you become a pure devotee. That pleases me the most. And thus this compassion, that this is, of course, that Dichi further on, he will agree with it. Because why will Dichi agree with giving his bones? It was the order of Lord Vishnu. and he wanted to please Lord Vishnu, so that's the greatest cause. And he knew also a devotee was engaged in devotional service. His devotional service never stops. Changing a body does not stop your devotional service. That it will continue next life. That will be revived and continue. And when one has become Jiva Mukta, then there is no interruption at all. Like Narada Muni, he got his spiritual body like a flash and a lightning. And he was in his spiritual body. He was not in anxiety, that he knew this is the best thing to do, using my body for the service of the Lord. And he was self-realized. He was not attached to the body. We cannot imitate that. This is a high level of realization. But yeah. Anyway, any comments or questions, please?
Thank you, Maharaj. You mentioned if devotees are a little bit morose after some years, either they don't hear enough or either they are not engaged enough in spreading Krishna consciousness. Now, if we look from the perspective of a community like here, where we are a little away from everything, we could say even addressing the deities is preaching, because some will say broadcast. So in one sense, we can say everything we do is still preaching. But does that will be sufficient to make us not morals if we hear enough? Or we have to be at least connected in our mind that what we do is preaching? Or how do we bring the two together?
Mm-hmm. There is a difference between Bhajanandi and Ghostanandi. The Bhajanandi is satisfied with the bhajan, staying in one place, worshipping the deities, and chanting, hearing, that's good. But more effective is Ghostanandi. Actively plan strategies to spread Krishna consciousness. The people outside, how to elevate them, or how to elevate their consciousness. And for the moment, I'm being asked to head up the mission committee from the Ministry of Sannyas, which I'm doing for a few years. And we developed a whole strategy, which now, after 2 years, is been applied by sannyas candidates. And they have to do an action learning project. And they have to show how they elevate the consciousness from people. And you have different levels. You have the community, these are all the people outside. And then some of them we must attract, and they come to our programs. We call that the crowd. And then we must make them regularly come and bring them to the level of congregation. And then we must inspire them further to become regulated in their devotional service and receive initiation and become committed. And then it's not finished. Then we have to endeavor to make these committed into core members who will help with the spreading of Krishna consciousness. So that's the purpose of our temples. purpose-driven yatra. We must work on strategies to realize that. And if we are doing that, yes, we are preaching. If we are not doing that, Vachanam will go slow. So this is a very important principle. And we discussed all these levels with the sannyas candidates in detail. I give you an example from the community, the people outside, how to attract them. First, you need a target audience. Who is receptive? Who is receptive? Srila Prabhupada was in New York. Who was receptive? The hippies were receptive. They were good candidates, and Srila Prabhupada came at the right time. Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And first these Mayavadis, they were criticizing him. He heard that they were criticizing it, and he stayed away from them. But then later, in the Madhya Lila, a few chapters later, Lord Chaitanya came back to Varanasi, Benares, and a Mahastrian Brahmin told him, yes, these sannyasis headed by Parashananda Saraswati, they are inviting you. Please come. So they were not criticizing him anymore. They were more receptive. Then Lord Chaitanya went, and he converted them all in Vaishnavas. So we have to see who is receptive to and attract them. Today can be different things. That I know, like I was in Brussels for some time, and there you have John Masterman. He's very good in his Govinda box catering program. Every day he sells this Govinda box with 6 preparations, and and we are close to the European Parliament there, and in all these offices they are ordering their meal before 10 in the morning to WhatsApp or whatever, and then Janmastami delivers them to with the e-bike. He delivers all these boxes, and it gives an income to the temple. That's good, and it's good preaching because he invites them to the programs, and they come to the programs because they are a target audience. They are already vegetarian. And vegetarians are more pious than the meat eaters. And by that he attracts them. But there may be many ways to attract people. Some have some to yoga, others to, so many ways. And we have to find the ways. What's going on here around in this Rhineland-Pfalz, what's going on? And have programs here and there, and try to find their needs and concern. What are they interested in? That and make programs, especially for newcomers, around their needs and concern. It's an art. Like in Flanders, I'm trying to develop things, and I've programs in. It's a kind of new age thing. They have a nice space. They are doing permaculture in greenhouses, and they are inviting people to speak, and I came there. I was asked to speak in a program organized by the Sufis. Interesting. I cooperated with them 20 years ago in Ghent, in Flanders, the Sufis. And I know their philosophy, they supported us really. And I knew their leaders. And what I was doing, after their presentation, I gave a lecture. And I was quoting, because they gave me a book about Sufism of their guru. And I was reading from that book. And then I was telling them Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. And then I was quoting Bhagavad Gita and introducing Krishna consciousness. Because these are Sufis, that's their interest, their guru. And you take them from where they are, and then Krishna consciousness. And after the lecture, two of the disciples of this leader that I knew 20 years ago, who passed away 2 years ago, they told me, I want to become your disciple. Interesting. But anyway, that's I'm not accepting disciples, but just to say, we must find out the need and concern. We must build strategies, and Krishna will help us. Even just building these strategies, pleasing Krishna. And to go from one level to another. If you want, next time or whatever, I can make presentations about that. And present how to go from one level to another according, we have done deep research. Because this mission committee has meeting for more than 1 year. Every week we were discussing how to build strategies from one level to another and the characteristics of each level and how to measure how they're making advancement. So that is important. Srila Prabhupada he liked to discuss strategies, preaching strategies. 3 days before he left us, Bhaktisvara Damodar Maharaj was meeting with him, and till late in the night they were discussing preaching strategies. So that is a good use of our intelligence in the service of Krishna. I don't know, does that help? Thank you. Good. Something else? Good. Thank you very much. Shantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.